There's a guy who's getting a lot of attention at the moment, and it's a fella called Andrew. I can't seem to find his surname, and articles suggest that he's withheld it, so if anybody does manage to track the guy down in anything other than the video I'm about to play in any news articles, I'd be grateful. But what we're going to do is we're going to link up his story with the CCTV footage and just see, based on what we know, based on what we've seen as far as witnesses and people like that are concerned, is this guy's version genuine? So yeah, like I say, we'll play it through and we'll see what we think.
I'm a typical guy who's always honest. But
He's a typical guy who's always honest, but, and then everything that follows this is not honest. That's certainly how I'd understand that statement.
yeah, he grazed my backpack. And right after I realized what happened, I ran as fast as I could into the building between Lids and Bubba Gump.
So as he says, he got hit by the car and then he went in between Lids and Bubba Gump into that little area there. So we now know, based on what he looks like, given that he's doing this interview on the day, which one we're looking out for on the CCTV footage. So here's Andrew as per the CCTV, and as we know, the car is going to be coming towards him. Now he's actually at the side of the pavement at this point and could quite easily have just sidestepped this, but what he actually does is he runs out almost into the middle of where the pavement is in order to be hit by the car, which seems very odd. He also is seen slipping over and the car goes over his legs, but he gets back up and walks it off as if it's no thing, and then of course he's then gone on to do this interview. So the car has definitely gone over his legs, or at least his ankles at the very least, but as you can see, he just gets up and then he obviously then must have then ran in between Lids and Bubba Gump as per his story. So what else has he got to say?
Can I just see your phone again? I'm sorry, where were you?
Between Lids and Bubba Gump's.
Okay.
On the west side of the street, walking south.
So west side, walking south, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened?
What's been going on in Europe and Israel the past few years? Another jihadist attack. They're using cars and trucks these days.
When I first saw this and I heard him come out with these ridiculous lines about terrorism, the first thing I thought was, well, he's saying it in order to put that into people's minds that it could be terrorism. At the end of the day, this has never been the official narrative. They've never attributed this to terrorism. However, they have mentioned it plenty of times, just so that they can at least get it in there, so to speak. To be honest, because this particular event mirrors the Melbourne attack quite closely, especially when it comes to the red flags, it reminded me of a particular witness who gave a similar sort of account of what he saw. Nobody else said it, just this one guy, and this is what he said.
And also, he was watching the people, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, eating steering and waiting the police. You know, that
So whilst in the case of both Andrew and that Allah Akbar fella, it's just not true, but once it's out there and it's in the media, it's in your mind, and that's all that they want from this sort of thing.
How long had it been driving on the sidewalk? Could you tell how long it had been driving on the sidewalk before it got to where you were?
Probably a second, maybe 3/4 of a second.
How can he say that? We know from the CCTV footage that the car was on the pavement for quite a while. For a second it was on the pavement. That's just ridiculous.
The screaming saved my life.
So you heard screams, then
Yeah, I heard the screams, I heard the car, I saw what was happening, I guessed what was going on, which, as I said, I think is terrorism, and I tried to jump as much of my body out of the way as I could, and I got very lucky.
But he didn't jump out the way, he actually got in the way, and I think the fact that he slipped over is actually an error on his part. I believe that this story is to still be put out there as per this script, but him slipping over has actually made it worse, because he was never to be hit in the first place. He was only to sort of be brushed by the car as it drove by, but because he slipped, they've got that footage, and then they've had to continue the car going on regardless. It doesn't go over his legs, you don't see any sort of movement of the car as it goes past him. It just goes cleanly through him.
And I really, I pray for the people who may not have made it out alive today, or who might be very injured.
what part of the car hit you? Do you know?
The front left side, and right as I got off the ground, I saw his rear bumper immediately on the floor right there.
So do you see what I mean about this slip? This slip is, in fact, an error. He wasn't supposed to slip, he was supposed to just be hit by the car. But then that begs the question as to, why is he doing this interview now? Why is he not being rushed to hospital with all the other injured people? I mean, it looked like the car was going pretty quick as somebody was riding on top of the bonnet, yet he seems to be completely fine.
Did you see the driver?
No. He was going too fast, and I don't know if the window was tinted, but
So you're fairly certain this was purposeful?
yeah, I mean, I'm just a bystander, an average citizen, but from what I've heard going on around the world the last few years, my educated guess is probably terrorism. There's no two bones about it. This isn't drunk driving.
What are the other?
He says it was definitely terrorism. How could he know that? But then also he then comes on to say that it definitely wasn't a drunk driver. Again, how would he know that? I mean, it was neither. It was a guy on drugs. But the point is that he's somehow able to assume, even though he can't see the driver, as per what he's just said, that he knows exactly what's going on. Now, to me, that's a degree of foreknowledge, if anything, a little slip of it, so to speak, that he knows what the script is. He's been told to say certain things, and he's just insisting that it can't be this. But his role is just to get the terror angle in there.
People looked like that were hit. Were people badly hurt?
Yes, there were people on the ground with, there was one person with a tarp over her. I thought she was gone. Thankfully, she was breathing and trying to get up.
That doesn't make any sense. How can he see somebody with a tarp over them when this has only just happened? I understand that they covered dead bodies with blankets and things like that, but the question is effectively what happened immediately after everybody was hit. So it's just an odd thing to come out with.
I saw another person with a compound fracture, meaning that one of his bones was sticking out of his ankle. Just carnage.
So, how many people were injured in your opinion, as a rough guess?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the figures. The cops, the press will have the figures soon. The cops are collecting data, and
I know this guy seems strange because his mannerisms, and he's obviously some sort of like nerdy, geeky guy because of the way he's sort of conducting himself. But the questions he's being asked are very simple. You know, how many people were injured, do you think? And rather than just say, "Oh, I saw lots of people," or "I only saw a few people because I didn't see down the street," or anything just sort of normal, he just sort of gets on the defensive. Oh, well, the police and the press, they'll know all the figures, as if, you know, that's a normal answer somehow.
anyone who may have seen this or been near it probably absolutely should
How quick
report
were
it.
cops on the
Can anyone hazard a guess as to what he was going to say before he was interrupted?
scene? What was their response?
Very immediately. The NYPD does a tremendous job responding to the situations, and they're a national treasure. They deserve respect, and they're some of the best people we have in this great country.
What is your name?
Andrew.
Sorry?
My name is Andrew.
Andrew.
Andrew. Yeah.
What were you doing in the sea? You said you're from Long Island, Andrew?
Yeah. I was meeting up with an old friend. Social engagement.
Back up.
I mean, that last section's just a load of rubbish within itself. I mean, he started this particular interview by saying that he's normally an honest guy, and then he's gone on to sort of over brown nose the police, and whether that's because they're the ones who are directing the whole thing and have put him up to this, then of course he's going to sing their praises as much as possible because he doesn't want to let them down in any way. But what gets me the most is that he features in CCTV footage that's supposed to be genuine. Why would he lie? Why would anybody need to lie about being hurt? If he's been hit by a car, he's been hit by a car. But we see that he's been run over by a car, but he doesn't say that. And I think, like I say, because he slipped, he shouldn't have slipped, and therefore he would have just sort of been clipped by the car instead, which would have married up to the story he's given. But because they can't change the script midway through, this is it. He's had to stick to it, and that's that. It seems my videos are getting longer and longer these days, but I appreciate you watching through them. Thanks again. Bye bye.